Welcome to Haggie Reads For You on Wolf Spirit Radio. Colleen, Haggie, reads children's stories for the wee ones up to the teens. She also reads books for grown-ups. Tune in, kick back, relax, and listen in. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hi everyone, this is Colleen, and today I am back with Barbara Threecrow's book, Return of the Sacred Feminine and Teachings of the Grandmothers. And I'm going to start where I left off last time, with manifesting and alluring. All that we seek is seeking us. Do you believe that it is possible that everything, abundance, health, and wisdom, and peace, and happiness, already exist? If we truly understand creation or believe in a divine creator, this theory then could be the truth that we are seeking, and an answer to hopelessness and despair. The tools of manifesting and luring have been used successfully throughout time for the purpose of realizing goals. The process is preceded by our having a clear intention. Specifically, this will be enhanced by our holding a focus upon a particular goal. Recall the unknown power of thought and intention, which enables us to affect and to move physical mass. We are each capable of becoming a channel, able to receive guidance from a spiritual source, and to use the tools of visualization and affirmation techniques used throughout history by shamans in order to send a request to the universe and those benevolent beings, helpers and guides. It is crucial to the success of manifesting and luring that one visualizes a strong and precise end result, where one is void of doubt and of resistance. Once this is achieved, we can begin the art of luring, or to manifest by visualizing exactly what we desire. Focusing your intention and creating exact and clear vision as though painting a precise picture, and having a heightened awareness of all that already exists within the vision of the divine creation, and that is held within your visualization, is crucial to your having success. We have all heard stories where a parent or a spouse is suddenly overcome with images or thoughts of a loved one in distress, and later on their premonition is proven. Random occurrences such as sudden illness or an accident can be broadcast energetically over long distances and are often received by a loved one far away from the actual incident. This can shed some light on the hidden abilities that we each have. Imagine then how the art of having conscious intent is significant and effective in all matters. There is a power within words, emotion, and thought. How we use these tools is crucial, and we can make all the difference in our success as to what we manifest in our lives. Spirit communication comes through to us in many forms. It is crucial for your success to be aware of particular feelings. Unease or queasiness, or a sensation of tingling in the hands, heaviness, energetic sensations, or other obvious signs. Be alert to thoughts that are bothersome or persistent. These could be spirits' ways of attempting to get your attention. Never think consciously, pushing it. Instead, allow your focus to expand without conscious egoistic thoughts or attachments to an outcome when opening to receive. Use meditation or prayer regularly to manifest guidance. By quieting the mind and allowing any psychic messages to come through freely is opening oneself to the divine flow. One might experience their hands tingle or heat up, or a sensation of density or slight pressure in the third eye may occur. Or you may perceive audibly a high-pitched ringing sound. Focusing one's desire using meditation and visualizing methods are methods of achieving success. Many years ago, I began to notice a distinct heavy pressure on my left side and realized there must be a spirit attempting to get my attention. This became quite an annoying sensation of being pulled at, and over time I had no choice but to find out what the spirit wanted. I quieted my mind and asked the internal guide for information. I soon came to the realization that my grandmother had been attempting to contact me. I recalled as a child how angry and unkind she was, and that I had not felt much love for her. My memories of her had been quite negative, and whenever speaking of her, I was unkind and often expressed my dislike of her. As I grew older, I discovered that my grandmother had had a hard life, which most likely had caused her unhappiness and had prompted an inability to be kind and loving toward her grandchildren. When I began to sense her nagging presence, I soon realized that her spirit was unsettled and that a healing between us was needed. When we hold on to negative memories of someone who has crossed over, this creates a magnetic force instead of their being released. They remain tethered to the earth plane, unable to be at peace. I prepared myself for a ceremony of forgiveness, and speaking to her spirit, I felt we had finally both been released. When attempting to manifest healing energy for the purpose of hands-on healing, our having a clear intention and attaining the state of becoming one with the divine source is essential. We have become a conduit for the flow of divine love, or receive telepathic information that clarifies certain issues, such as disease or disharmony in the body, mind, or spirit of those we are attempting to heal. From this enlightened perspective, our having a clear intention of our link with the divine flow allows us to manifest healing vibrations to be directed properly and effectively. When using the methods of hands-on healing, our hands will tingle, vibrate, or heat up. When opening to a channel and allowing ourselves to be guided by intuitive sensing, we are placing ourselves in the position to act as a link with healing vibrations and to manifest that which is needed for that person according to the divine plan. The healer that is guided by spirit can directly either touch a person or, by holding his or her hands slightly above the auric field, to then effect the proper healing. It is important to disassociate oneself from ego or personal desire or prescribed results. We must also understand that the will of the person and their personal journey on earth is to be respected. A healer is nothing other than a person who has the ability to place ego aside in order to become a channel for manifesting healing vibrations, and who, in a humble manner, holds the knowledge that it is the divine source that heals. If all things are in accordance with an individual's path. Psychic ability is fine-tuning the art of listening and paying attention to any heightened sensations and moving beyond any doubt or fear, beyond the illusion of false information. It is holding the intention that you are openly willing to receive spiritual guidance. Consciously opening to spirit is the act of not thinking of or forcing the perfect outcome, but allowing oneself to become a clear channel for responsive guidance from the source of a higher realm, and consciously tapping into the source of healing energy. To use responsive guidance, a person must understand the difference between, on the other hand, ego, self-determination, and commanding or demanding a particular result or response, and attuning themselves to align with the natural flow of spiritual energies, knowing to put aside their preconceived ideas and seek only that which is for another's highest good. Clairvoyant abilities can develop through practicing with various items. Have someone bring jewelry or photographs, and without looking at the pictures, hold them in your hands and center yourself. Begin to feel any strong or particular sensations, shapes, or psychic messages. When performing any psychic work, always begin with an opening prayer. Ask to be placed within the light. Ask for guidance from higher source, and align yourself with the divine flow. Ask to receive all truths and all goodness. To be present. Feel the essence of the subject or object, then open and allow feelings and sensations to unfold. Allow yourself to be open to all possibilities. Relate immediately what you perceive. This is a practice where mistakes often occur before you become adept. Spiritual guidance derives from our ability to link with guides or spirits. When we engage the spirit of a tree, for instance, we are practicing spiritual consciousness. Through the practice of communion with guides and connecting with the presence of a living spirit within all things, we become consciously spiritual. In this instance, the source of knowledge will come from the tree spirit. It is essential that we respect all entities. Therefore, when approaching a tree spirit, for instance, always greet the spirit with gratitude, and then state your intentions. We may perceive guidance through auditory perception, smell, physical sensation, or visual images. We also have our own inner guide, where we receive through a sense of immediate and precise knowledge. This is receiving knowledge without doubt, since the psychic content is experienced by our perfecting alignment with divine source. In other words, by not thinking or mulling over something, but having a deep, sure sense of openness and alignment to spiritual truth. It takes practice to learn how to discern spiritual guidance from divine source and psychic alignment as compared to our dependence on our will or the voice of ego. Spirit is naturally around us and is aware of our needs. Yet it is up to us to align with and be open and in right relation to spiritual guidance, and to take proper steps in order to receive clarity. In the mysterious realm of spirit, time does not exist as we know it. Also, Spirit already knows what it is that we seek. Therefore, we will receive answers immediately. Our understanding of messages received will depend on our ability to be centered, alert, open, and also specifically knowing what spiritual guidance actually is. Most often, humans' usual habit is to question or doubt that the answer could be true. Instead, their personal agenda, doubt, and egoistic thoughts prevent a clear channel. Not to say that we should not question, but while doubt most often gets in the way of opening the channel, questioning from one's center helps us to discern truth. Success in aligning with true guidance is realized by letting expectations go, by using the breath to quiet the mind, and moving into the experience of nothingness, and opening ourselves to receive spiritual guidance. We might not be ready to hear the truth. Then we will disregard Spirit's guidance. Always, it is important to consciously hold our intention to align with those of the highest light source, asking for help and guidance from these beings that are aligned with the sacred. It is a daily practice to learn to be open and realize when we are indeed receiving clear channeling. We are often unsuspecting and vulnerable to negative vibrations or thoughts, those of others as well as our own. We must be alert and refrain from sending or receiving negative thoughts through fear, doubt, envy, anger, or jealousy. Being aware of the power of thoughts, words, and emotion is essential. When gathering together with others to take part in ceremony, we sometimes are given a sign from Spirit. This was proven when several people were gathered to build an inipi, or a purification lodge. Just as we had finished and stood back to view the lodge, a bald eagle appeared and circled over us several times. I called out, "Ho mitakiyu oyasin," all my relations, and offered tobacco in gratitude, and one bli, eagle, has shown itself to us. Another time, a group of people had gathered during the winter and to take part in the inipi ceremony. The day was bitter cold, with sleet and snow falling rapidly as we lit the sacred fire. As we stood near the fire, the red-tailed hawk suddenly swooped out of the woods and flew over the fire, and then over the inipi. Flying low, it then passed over our teepee set up nearby. Since it was unusual for any of the winged ones to be flying about in such severe weather, I felt this to be a sign from Great Spirit that we were doing a good thing by gathering to pray that day. Seeing the hawk was such a powerful and wonderful gift. I imagined a conversation Great Spirit might have had with the hawk, that the Great Spirit had perhaps asked the red-tailed hawk to leave its nest to give us a sign. I thought of how the hawk might have complained that it would rather stay warm and protected, and that, why, couldn't Rabbit go? I thought that perhaps Hawk was told to go because we pitiful two-legged had needed a special sign. Regardless, I realized something significant had occurred and offered tobacco in gratitude. Chapter 20. Star Woman opened the doorway. Star Woman opened the doorway, and the spirits came like falling stars into the night. As I sat in the cave-like darkness, during an all-night Unwipi healing ceremony, the singing and praying went deep into the night until dawn. I found myself straining to keep focused and alert to the activity of the spirits that had appeared in answer to the prayers and sacrifice of the medicine man. The singing grew stronger, as did the drumming, which seemed to activate the spirits, who by now had picked up the ceremonial rattles, which were flashing like lightning around the room, giving the only clue to their whereabouts even more. About 40 people had gathered to pray, each of us sitting side by side in a circle inside the underground kiva. As the night wore on, the small space grew hot and stuffy. The singing continued for hours, and occasionally a spirit who had earlier picked up one of the small uwipi rattles would come close to us, holding itself at eye level as though checking us out. At times, even hitting the walls above our heads. A humbling experience. At one point, I felt a cool breeze against my face that felt as though someone were fanning me. Then the sounds of wings those of a large bird as it flew around the perimeter of the kiva, becoming audible. The darkness held no visible image, yet I sensed that the eagle spirit had arrived. As the ceremony was about to end, the spirits went to each person in the room and touched them. I heard the sound of the rattles and saw flashes of light. As they approached, I felt a touch on my face, such as that of a grandmother who might caress a child. During another Uipi ceremony, the medicine man told us that some of the spirits that come to help are very ancient grandmothers. Other spirits are mischievous and take the drum and beat on it. During the ceremony in the kiva, we were told specifically to pray for native elders and to make sure that when the time came, our prayers did not include personal issues. As people prayed around the circle, the spirits moved around the room, stopping in front of each person, one of whom began a long personal discourse. Immediately a spirit hit him several times with the rattle, a lesson on how we need to pay attention. When seeking a deeper connection with spirit, we must pray to the Creator, who sends those spirits to help us. If you want help in deeper communication, you have to place yourself where the spirits are. Taking part in a sacred ceremony is one way of opening communication. Making tobacco offerings or placing tobacco on the earth is another. When we are praying for help or guidance, it's important to ask the spirits to be gentle with us, and also to offer thanks for their having patience, and most of all, to pay attention. Chapter 21. Sacred Tools. Spiritual consciousness is being fully awake and aware of your surroundings. In relation to sacred tools, is the ability to not only recognize and commune with the spirits that reside within, but to gain knowledge of the proper use of these medicine tools. The use of stones, crystals, drums, and rattles or other elementals will enhance one's developing spiritual consciousness. These can be used for ceremony, ritual, shamanic journeying, clearing, healing, and grounding. Sacred tools should not be ignored, and in order to build a relationship with the spirit that resides within, it is important that we sit with them often. Creating one's altar, where sacred tools are displayed, is respectful to spirit and shows our desire to be so. Daily use of these tools through prayer, song, and chanting will help align you with the spirit and develop your powers of perception, clairvoyance, and telepathic abilities, and heighten your mystical experiences. When using sacred tools, make sure that you're not disturbed with egoistic thoughts and outside disruption. Practice becoming aware of the particular vibration when using a stone, crystal, or sitting before a tree. Meditating and holding a focus helps to bring on an altered state and a deeper contact with spirit. To open the portal to achieve spiritual connection regarding a specific place, use the same methods of focus and concentration, and be clear and precise regarding your purpose and reasons for calling upon spirit. Because there are always spirits present in nature, you can use these methods of communication anywhere, in the woods or near water, perhaps laying out a formation of crystals, or leaving gifts for the spirits who reside there. Visit sacred places often, and seek out unusual stones, trees, or plants. Practice focusing your attention upon a particular elemental or spirit. Listen to and commune with the plant or tree spirit, or the spirit of an animal. A strong feeling, sensory or auditory sensation, visual image or tactile awareness will indicate spiritual contact. Ask questions. Listen for answers. Stay focused and ask for guidance, and request only those who are from the light to enter your realm. offering a pinch of tobacco, some food or cornmeal in gratitude, and being dedicated to your achieving clear communion, will in time create an alignment with the spirits. Singing with the spirits. Recently, I, along with others, went into the nearby mountains that had once been known by indigenous people to be inhabited by spirits. It is a very special place and beautiful. The mountains had been deeply cleaved by the force of nature, which left a myriad of descending waterfalls, and over the course of time had gouged deep, silent, frigid pools, overshadowed by dramatic rock formations. As the day began to shift downward into the night, we silently made our way into the depths of the clove and found a perfect place near a waterfall. Our intention was to be in gratitude for the beauty all around us and to be open to all possibilities. As night came, the forest grew darker. Our awareness increased to the degree that we were each sensing a dramatic shift of energy around us. As we became enveloped in total darkness, we lost our ability to see. No longer able to discern our visual surroundings, we noticed an increase in our auditory abilities. When the brain is no longer able to receive visual information, it begins to stimulate all other sensory abilities. Therefore, the roar of the waterfall increased, seeming to us to be even more powerful. Each of us at that moment experienced the mysterious sensation that the waterfall had actually moved closer to us. Or perhaps we had magically levitated across the darkened waters, coming closer to the cascading falls. We remained silent for a time, and began to hear a sweet and delicate hum. Realizing that the water spirits were singing, we began to harmonize in unison. The descending and descending ahs, ohs, and ees of our voices flowed across the dark waters from our circle, and merged with the angelic sounds of the water spirits. This was a profound and joyful experience of experiencing the presence of the sacred feminine, and this created within each of us a sense of peace. To develop psychically, it is essential that you spend time communing with the elementals and spirits that abound. Write about the experience. Describe and experience with a particular psychic process that you have explored, for instance, clairaudio or clairsentient. Describe the experience and the elemental you practiced with or aligned with. Example, plant spirits, water spirits, or stone spirits. Describe the area of your body where you experienced specific sensations. Did you receive messages through an audio response? Did you experience doubt or fear? Describe any messages you received. Did you create an altar or use sacred items? Is prayer a part of your daily routine? How often do you pray? Is there a special place outside where you pray? Describe. Do you offer the spirits or Mother Earth sacred tobacco or other offerings in gratitude? Write your desires or your goals concerning spiritual viewing. Keep a daily journal of your developing spiritual practice. Merging with the soul self. The soul self has journeyed to earth many lifetimes and seeks to align the human spirit with the divine source. The soul's greatest challenge is to shift our present earthbound experience into alignment. This is the part of us that has been influenced by fear, hatred, and greed, and that has invaded and consumed every level of our being. This process is the most direct course to our attaining enlightenment and fulfilling the soul's original promise in order to become a spiritually conscious human. To gain spiritual consciousness, we must understand Spirit's relationship with all of humanity, and we recognize the existence of Spirit in all things. We must be willing to embrace those of that mysterious realm as being a significant part of the sacred web, as we ourselves are. To begin, we must be open to all possibilities, and then to expand beyond limited perceptions that were formed according to others' beliefs in regard to how we view our world, and to develop expertise in the way in which we use the tools of discernment in all matters, especially regarding spiritual communication and our choosing to be in right relation to the world around us. Spiritual consciousness. Spiritual consciousness is developing a particular state of mind. It is a willingness to hold a trenchant awareness of the sacred in all things. It is a way of life that we are free to choose or not. Spirit is always present, yet we ourselves are blocked by our mind's constant chatter from receiving communication, as well as our having doubt concerning the existence of the spiritual realm and of those spirits inherent in the world around us. The practice of becoming spiritually conscious is learning to listen to what lies beyond a particular and distinct sound. We train our eyes to see beyond and in between what we once believed our eyes show us. It is realizing the presence of Spirit in all things and taking steps to open ourselves to receive their communication. For instance, when listening to the song or call of a bird, if we pay attention, we may receive the hidden messages from the spirit of the bird. When practicing communing with the spirit of a tree, our focus should be held steadily upon one part of the tree only, making sure to not be distracted by intrusive thoughts. We must hold our intention to see beyond the literal descriptions of what a tree is, and what we have been trained to believe is nothing other than just a tree. Spiritual consciousness is seeking deeper knowledge beyond what society deems possible, and allowing ourselves to become one with and merge with the tree. Practice this by opening all of your senses to view the elemental spirit of the tree, plant, or animal, becoming sensitive and open to receiving a new experience. By holding your gaze for long periods of time and staring directly at a particular object and being open to its possibilities, you are developing spiritual consciousness. This practice will often create a visual shift, where the life force of the tree or animal, which often appears as vibrational energy, becomes apparent. This practice will allow us to view the web of life. Chapter 22. A Time of Challenge. We are experiencing a time of great challenge, where many are being pushed, prodded, and pulled into their destiny. Many are being drawn to break free from patterns that no longer serve, and to spread our wings and to fly, to at last fulfill the original promise. It is time for discernment, clarity, and decision-making in relation to the guidance that we are each receiving. If you are called to meet those challenges and change your life, those around you will also be affected and may become more threatened and insecure. It's important to understand that the choices we make in relation to our personal truth and the soul's journey may very well bring an experience of loneliness and isolation, where we might find ourselves plagued by fear and even doubt. We must realize that others cannot follow our path and our life's purpose, and we cannot follow theirs. This does not necessarily mean that you must separate yourselves from those we love, but in order to fulfill our purpose, we must continue to be open to change and be willing to explore what might seem at first threatening to our comfort zone. There will always be consequences to the choices that we make, and if we decide to not answer the call to fulfill our soul's purpose, we might find ourselves hit by a 2x4, which is Spirit's way of getting our attention and forcing us out of our comfort zone. If we ignore Spirit's guidance, eventually our own inner spirit will slowly begin to die. Those who choose to ignore signs of their need to advance themselves or to heal themselves and begin to take steps to change their lives may often experience an unfulfilled longing. They may hide from the truth by continuing their fruitless search, filling their lives with non-essential activities. We can often recognize those who have neglected to listen to spiritual guidance and make necessary changes as the walking dead. This explains the slow demise of one's spirit, its vibrancy and joy of life. Now, more than ever, we need to pay attention to what we've been asked to do, to let go of fear and surrender to the course set before us, that we had determined to take part in before we arrived on earth. If our loved ones are unable to let go and are threatened by our need for change, the best way to help them is to pray. And they also can find their own healing path. We may be challenged by others resenting our need to change, but the one must remember the importance of our limited time on earth. Time is accelerating. There are significant signs and prophecies that show us that we must begin to, without fear or doubt, take steps toward fulfilling the soul's original promise. The prophecy that I received calls women to stand in their truth and fulfill their original promise, and to begin to use the gifts given them upon their birth. When the call is answered and change begins, there are those around us who might also begin to seek change, or they may resist due to their feeling threatened. It is important to not be swayed by others. Instead, pray for them to let go of their fears and to find their own path of enlightenment. Daily Healing Prayer. Great Spirit, I pray that you look upon me today. Guide me to have clarity. Help me to open my heart, to have trust and faith, and receive the love you pour down upon the earth. Help me to open my eyes to see clearly through the illusions that I have been programmed to believe in. Help me to let go of fear and doubt, and to trust that I am always held by you. I give over to you all that is hurtful to me, and keeps me from love and joy. Great Spirit, remove the sticks from my ears so that I may hear the true voice of your guidance, so that I can hear and understand the words of the creatures, the winged ones, the wind spirits, the grandmothers and grandfathers, the ancestors who walk with me. Let me not be afraid to love and to receive love. Great Spirit, help me to see myself through your eyes. A divine plan. There has always been a divine plan. Each reincarnating soul has its purpose. Each of us is an essential link to fulfilling the divine plan. With each incarnation, we have an opportunity to experience life in various ways, choosing to be born into different cultures, either choosing life as a male or a female. We choose to experience the life that will best advance us. However we have chosen, each advancing lifetime will be met with great challenge. Hopefully we will gain enlightenment. It is crucial that we recognize the soul's purpose and our part in the Creator's divine plan. It is essential that we recognize that after centuries of failure to raise our vibration in order to link with the divine and create a world of peace, that we have yet to achieve this. We must understand that the reason for our soul's return to earth is to fulfill the prophecy of the return of the sacred feminine. Once again, we will have come full circle to link all of humanity into the divine flow of higher consciousness and to the opportunities given each of us. We can choose to either create balance, harmony, and peace in order to transcend the fourth hoop into the fifth hoop of peace, or choose to continue aligning with the lower vibrations of ignorance, greed, hatred, and superiority over the earth, and all that had been originally created as sacred. We must realize that we can no longer continue our destructive ways and expect to transcend into enlightenment. We must now meet the challenge of the chaos we each have created through each incarnation. Our entering into the fifth hoop of peace, or fifth world of peace, is part of the divine plan for all of humanity. Yet there are many who may not recognize their part in their soul's quest. Instead, they may choose to continue their destructive ways. The fulfilling of the divine plan was meant to bring each of us through the earth changes and cataclysmic events that humans, through their destructive ways, are bringing about. It is essential to begin the process that will create balance on the earth. Once again, when we learn to transcend humanity's weakness, ingrained negative beliefs, hatred, jealousy, greed, fear, superiority, prejudices, violence, and more, and instead practice compassion, forgiveness, unconditional love, acceptance, and tolerance for those who we believe are different, wrong, or strange, we will have fulfilled the soul's original promise and the divine plan. Only then will those whose lives are in harmony and aligned with the divine enter into the fifth hoop of peace. The universal law declares that all things are meant to be. This code clearly shows the significance and power of the decisions and choices we make. We are each being given a chance once again to seek an understanding of the soul's purpose, as intentionally seeking and engaging in whichever challenges we are presently meeting. The quest of our soul is to expand and grow, to bring enlightenment, and, most importantly, to bring about a peaceful existence, sought through each incarnation. Within this lifetime, we have been met with great challenges, whose purpose is to return us to the sacred grandmother's ways, where respect, balance, and care for all humanity, and the Mother Earth and her creatures, are essential for human survival. We must raise our vibrations through seeking truth and purpose, knowing ourselves and others as part of the sacred hoop, understanding how cause and effect link each of us through personal choice. During this present incarnation, our soul self has chosen to realize and affect peace in order that we may transcend into the fifth hoop of peace. Our greatest challenge is our battle against the dark force. The dark force embodies negativity, hate, greed, and violence against the sacred feminine. These forces manifest as powerful energies that seek a hold upon each of us. Their desire to create chaos, fear, doubt, and greed. They feed off the energies of those they have captured, these humans out of balance and out of alignment with the light. The dark riles against the light and must hold strong in order to survive. Unbeknownst to us, we are feeding the dark energies with our negative thoughts and harmful behavior. We find ourselves at a crucial time on earth, being challenged to make a choice, to either shift ourselves into alignment with the divine and to recognize the sacred in all things, to have trust and faith, compassion, and unconditional love, which will once again create a balance, or to fall back into negativity, fear, doubt, arrogance, and greed. It is obvious that hatred and violence only create more of the same. Through our recognizing the universal law that states that all things are meant to be, we then realize the significance of the existence of the forces of dark and light, and the souls accepting to return to meet this great challenge. Each soul within every human is divine, yet humans, as earthbound, have free will. The choices we each are meeting in this lifetime are to either align with the dark energies or the sacred and higher vibrations. Either way, we will be met with great challenges. There are many who have reincarnated to meet monumental challenges and to take up the battle against negativity and lifetimes of imbalance. Others have chosen to return to align with the dark force, to become the challengers against the light. Understanding the divine plan is essential and points to all things being as they are meant to be according to the divine plan. Each challenge we meet will grow us and expand us, bringing us closer to universal truth. The prophecies tell us of the need for humans to return to the ways of the grandmothers in order to evolve and enter the fifth world of peace. Those who have chosen to link with and fulfill this prophecy are at present experiencing an increase in chaos, change, and challenge. Trust and faith in the divine plan. 1. Do you recognize and have faith in a divine plan and in your ability to live a spiritually conscious life against increasing challenges? Do you trust others to be exactly whom and what they're meant to be? Explain what's meant in regards to your relationship and how you believe others should behave. 2. Do you believe there is a divine plan for you? Do you have faith and trust in this plan? 3. Do you also believe that the Creator has a divine plan for others as well? Explain this in regard to relationships that you might have with others. This includes parents, friends, and children. Do you believe that you were born for a reason and are on a journey to uncover that purpose? Could you imagine that the great journey of discovery and personal healing might be one of the very reasons for your being born? What is the best course to take if someone you love is behaving in a self-destructive manner? Do you believe peace can be achieved? Describe. Life in harmony and imbalance. The divine plan imposes specific rules which determine all things to be in relationship. This significant relationship has arranged the plant and animal kingdoms into the most favorable environment, where every element in the universe and upon the earth maintains harmony and balance. Before the advent of technology, early cultures understood their relationship to the earth and all of her elements. They understood the importance of maintaining harmony. Not only did they know that nature was not to be disrespected or challenged, they also maintained a balance through respecting the nature of male and female, knowing this to be essential to the divine plan. History has shown that over time, increasing disregard for the earth and the sacred feminine has affected generations, so that no longer is balance maintained, nor does harmony exist in the natural world. If we desire a peaceful world, a world where humans have respect for diversity and realize all of humanity as being in relationship to not only the earth but to each other, and to begin to care for each other and the earth and her natural resources, it is imperative to realign with the teachings of the grandmothers, to succeed and to heal generations of negative programming. Visualize yourself as complete and whole, occupying a sacred space, allowing yourself to receive and to be fulfilled with divine love. It is crucial that we forgive ourselves as well as others' behavior, which is a negative impact and a profound and damaging effect against the sacred hoop. You can choose also to refrain from association with those who are out of balance and create disharmony. I don't believe in happenstances or mistakes. I believe that everything happens for a reason, that every challenge we meet, even negatively itself, is part of the divine plan, is purposeful and meant to be an opportunity for us to grow. Every experience offers each of us an opportunity to choose either to embrace health, harmony, and unconditional love, or hatred, violence, and grief. We can learn to make right choices by paying attention to our feelings, which are signals that we can show if we have been exposed to negativity or harmful behavior. It is important to realize how we feel when being triggered by others, when hearing negative words or being subjected to behavior that is harmful to the spirit. We have the right to choose to be in harmony and to remove ourselves from those who are caught in negativity. Whenever someone speaks with disrespect towards others, we can choose to let it go in one ear and out the other. If we repeat this behavior, we send this negative energy out into the world. We can understand the laws of cause and effect, and what goes out comes back. It is wise to be cautious and pay attention to our own words and their powerful effect. We need only to reflect upon the power of words, thoughts, and emotions to understand that if we desire a world of peace and healing, we must take responsibility and not take part in harmful behavior. Accepting ourselves as sacred, our life as essential, and all that we experience with gratitude, each challenge that we meet as a gift, and to be open to each step upon our pathway with love and compassion, to be forgiving and compassionate, are ways to acknowledge our own divine soul. Practicing the ways of the grandmothers, by taking responsibility for the earth, our mother, and all creatures, will in turn affect generations to come. Realize also that all things are meant to be for one's highest good. Our difficult situations have meanings. Most of all, remember that we are each of us co-creators, and our words and thoughts are more powerful than we often realize. Therefore, each of us can choose to recreate our world once again in harmony and balance by deepening our relationship with the spiritual realm that exists in all of nature. Slowing down and spending time in nature is healing and renews us, bringing us once again into harmony. Describe a negative or difficult experience where you realized that a gift or a teaching. Are you grateful to have been born? Do you have a sense of inner peace? Do you know that you consciously and unconsciously create your world? Are you creating a conscious decision to expand peace and unconditional love of self and others? Or are you unconsciously creating disharmony and disease through negative thoughts and actions? Explain how you consciously create unconditional love. Explain how any negative core beliefs might have unconsciously created your world out of balance. we can manifest expansions of joy, love, and harmony. Explain the tools of manifesting and how you use them. How do you perceive your life in relation to joy, peace, and love, and harmony? We create our lives through personal choice. Describe the choices that you're willing to make to heal and to change negative core beliefs. We create our own reality. Describe the reality that you have created. At present, what is your perception of yourself and your life? How do you fit in the world? Describe how certain positive choices that you've made will affect your future. Chapter 23. Spiritual Teachers. The Stone People. In many ancient cultures there are significant stones that are known to be sacred, and said to be the oldest relatives on earth. Along with everything that has been created, the stone people contain a living spirit. When a spirit of a stone wants to be with us, it places itself where we will easily find it. For instance, when we are out walking, we might notice a special stone and feel attached to it. We have a strong desire to bring it home, to put it on our table or a shelf, sometimes forgetting why we were drawn in the first place. If we overlook the importance of the stone and its spirit, we will miss an opportunity to learn and to grow spiritually. At the beginning of each medicine circle, I ask that everyone begin their search for a stone and bring it to the circle. The commitment to a stone spirit sets the pace of commitment to one's spiritual advancement. When holding a sacred stone, we can receive guidance and learn to trust our natural, intuitive gifts by paying attention, listening and observing any feelings and vibrations given off by the stone. To learn to communicate with the spirit of the stone, we first quiet the mind. We place ourselves in an altered state and open all of our senses. To develop our personal medicine is to develop the art of manifesting and learn to understand the power of energy and experience the living spirit in all things. When seeking guidance from spirit, we must begin by performing sacred ceremony and clearly direct our intentions as a sincere request. Personal medicine is the ability to discern the subtle energy and signals from guiding spirits. The more one works with sacred items, the more powerful and expansive the connection. The spirit within everything, plants, trees, animals, water, winds, stones, and the star nations, are regarded as our relatives. The conscious intent of the elemental spirits is to activate healing vibrations within the universe and upon the Mother Earth through their connections with humans. The stone people are the oldest inhabitants on Earth and possess ancient teachings. Those of us who originated as star children and who carry an ancient link to the sacred grandmothers need to connect with the ancient ones that will assist us to once again walk in beauty. The teachings of the stone people are an essential part of the sacred hoop. The hoop is a vortex of energy and naturally harmonious. It had been broken due to humans' disregard and disrespect of the sacredness of all things. To awaken our spiritual self and enter the fifth hoop of peace, we must respect and hold in high regard the Mother Earth and all relations. Many of us are beginning to open to our soul's memories of past lives, linking with ancient cultures where once we lived according to the grandmother's earth ways. We are seeking to come full circle where once again we can live according to these ancient ways. We begin with the sacred spirit stone. You may already have a stone. If not, begin by searching for the one that has been waiting for you. Begin by putting aside all expectations, self-will, and the control that ego dictates, and opening itself to what feels natural. You will know immediately which stone calls to you. When working with the elemental spirits, be aware of how the egotistical mind leads to confusion, doubt, and harmony. This blocks the natural flow and alignment with spiritual guidance. Always begin with a prayer of gratitude, thanking the spirits for their help. Practice creating heightened awareness that opens each of the appropriate senses and heightens your awareness of the environment around you. This allows you specific feelings that will guide you toward a particular stone. It is disrespectful to grab a stone and cart it off. Always sit for a moment and pray. Offer tobacco. Ask the spirit of the stone if it's meant to come to help you. Placing the stone beneath your pillow with the intention of receiving communication from the spirit is a good way to begin. As you begin drifting off to sleep, hold a focus of your intention and pray to the spirit of the stone, asking for guidance to be received during dream time. Using the stone regularly in meditation has proven to be most powerful. Many who have used this method report amazing results and insights, as well as having difficult questions answered. Not only is it essential to communicate one's desire to the spirit of the stone through a focused intention, but by creating ceremony as well. Practicing patience and having trust and faith will open communication. Joan, a member of the healing circle, had expressed her fears and the challenge she experienced of having to make a decision in order to change her life. And upon placing her stone under her pillow, she received a powerful dream. She was visited by several native elders, who advised her that she must give notice at her job and she needed to move. They said that all her life she had made an effort to avoid feeling uncomfortable, and now she must seek this out in order to heal and to move forward. After the stone's spirit guidance, she immediately gave notice and changed her life. Spirit communication. All that has been created by the Great Spirit contains its own spirit. If we wish to commune with and learn of the gifts that each spirit offers us, we must take proper steps to open the door to allow contact. By our having a clear intention and actively seeking communication, by setting aside all doubt, and by our opening to the ancient knowledge that spirit exists in all things, and that they are teachers, we can then open the key to creating a channel to receive their guidance. Doubt blocks the flow of clairvoyant energy and shuts down all possibilities. Diligence, focus, and commitment. These are ways we can better receive guidance from any elemental we wish to contact. Making a conscious effort to connect with the spirits of the woods, or of a plant or a stone, the little people or winged, as well as those who exist on parallel planes, will help raise our vibrations as well as our spiritual consciousness. Practice the ancient earth ways of those who long ago had been seers, healers, and medicine women, and men who, through daily communication and prayer, ritual, and ceremony, had contact with spirit guides. Living according to the grandmother's earth ways taught humans the importance of their keeping a balance through a daily spiritual practice and living life as a prayer, every step a prayer. We are either praying for something good or not. Trust and faith. Sharon, a member of the medicine circle, mentioned her difficulty and frustration in not being able to experience elemental spirits. She felt she had no idea of how to go about this, and believed that it seemed to work for others, but not for her. Her perception was that the spirits were not contacting her, because she must not be good enough. I explained to her that the spirits are always near us, and it is up to us to take necessary steps to make contact. Having trust and faith and acting as if will bring about contact with each of the elemental spirits that exist within the trees, plants, animals, or other guides. Daily, we are inundated with life's worries and responsibilities, which create a block to our receiving communication from the elemental realm. We will not be successful if we allow negative thoughts, doubt, impatience, and frustration to block the natural flow of communication. In ancient cultures, there was never any doubt of the ability to commune with spirits. They believed in the existence of a spirit in all things. Therefore, their willingness and expectation that they would achieve contact allowed them to easily receive spiritual guidance. It is up to us to open the channels on a daily basis through ceremony and prayer. This is acting as if, and having a clear, direct intention, where your daily practice will eventually bring you into alignment with the guidance of sacred beings. If you awaken in the middle of the night, light sage or sweetgrass. Sit up and pray. Make a practice of taking time to sit with a particular tree. Feed the spirit of the tree daily, with prayer, gifts of tobacco or foods that you eat. If an animal or bird comes into contact with you in a significant way, it's important to acknowledge its spirit through a silent prayer, or laying tobacco on the Mother Earth and an offering of gratitude. Your willingness to commit to a daily spiritual practice will bring about success. Spirit of the Stone. For weeks I had been plagued with a persistent and strong desire to acquire a large wooden planter to place beneath my picture window. Yet I was unable to find what I had clearly seen in my mind. Coinciding with this strange desire, I began receiving a strong message that I should go to an old dumping area. This was a place that I had rooted around a year ago. These thoughts were so insistent and bothersome that I finally made a decision to drive the 20 miles to the old dump. That day, as I made my way toward the dump, a feeling of calmness came over me. I felt strongly reassured that I would indeed find exactly what I was looking for. Upon arriving at the dump, I parked my car off the main road and began walking through the acres of trash that had been dumped there over the years. A narrow dirt road led me to an area below a steep embankment that had been loaded down with old TVs, refrigerators, couches, bed springs, and various other household items. And upon reaching a certain area, I suddenly received a command to stop and face the hill of the jumbled trash. I noticed the end of a wooden box protruding out from beneath a pile of junk, about 20 feet from where I stood. As I took a few steps up the hill, I came upon an area that had been completely cleared of debris. I thought this quite unusual, since the whole area had, over the years, been cluttered with trash. As I approached the circular clearing, I noticed a perfectly round stone lying directly in its center. The stone, a smooth 2-inch sphere, was a deep red color, and was defined by a series of several perfect lines of a lighter color that completely encircled it. As I held the stone, I immediately felt its energy as a subtle pulse, and at the moment it seemed to me that this beautiful and sacred stone had been sent down to earth from the star relatives. I looked to the heavens with a prayer of gratitude to have received such a gift. I then continued my way up the steep hill, stepping over old pipes and wire springs, until I finally reached the wooden box. Upon dislodging it, I saw that it was exactly what I'd been searching for. Over the years, I've kept the celestial spirit stone in my medicine bundle, often using its unique grounding quality and powerful source of healing in meditation and ceremony. Years later, I discovered that this type of stone was known by indigenous people as a thunderstone and is used for healing. These special and powerful stones were often connected to the Wikian, the thunder spirits. Thinking back, I often wondered if the spirit of the stone and its desire to be with me had actually been coaxing me all along to go to the old dump and search out the unusual planter. Although it took me several weeks to finally pay attention, I realized afterward that I had been given the chance of experiencing a small part of the great mystery through Spirit's guidance. Spider medicine. One summer, a spider built a magnificent web outside my shop window. The spider was spectacular, her body about the size of a silver dollar, with intricate designs of black and yellow. The strands of her web were unusually thick, like spun cotton, and I would watch fascinated as she danced across the web, spinning like an old woman. People would often stop by and look, some taking photos of her, and I would remind them not to disturb her. Each day I would greet her, exclaiming at her beauty, making sure she was safe. Then one day I began thinking of the coming winter and wondered where she might go. Suddenly a thought popped into my mind that she might come inside and stay by the window where I had my many plants and a small fountain. I felt she would be safe there, and in the spring she could again go outside. That very night I had a dream where the spider came to me and told me that she was going to come inside to live. The next day, when I looked at her web, she was gone. I entered my shop and walked through a long, thick strand of spider web, and knew immediately that she had come in through the small opening beneath the front door. I searched throughout the day for her, yet was unable to find her. But later that afternoon, while I stood talking with a customer, I reached for a blouse nearby, and to my great surprise, there sat the spider. I reacted without thinking and proceeded to pick her up and place her back outside on the web. I never saw her again. It was years later, and after I had met my Lakota spiritual teacher, that I had gained some knowledge regarding the earth teachings and realized my mistake. I was overcome with a great sadness that I had not understood the sacred gift that the spider had given me. I decided to pray. I asked the grandmother spider to forgive me for my ignorance. Earlier that morning I had been prompted to pick an animal card and instead lay them aside. I guess I was too busy at that moment to follow Spirit's guidance. Upon finishing my prayer to the grandmother spider, I decided to pick an animal card after all. At first I held the cards face down, and immediately felt a distinct vibration in my hands in relation to a particular card. This long-proved signal told me that this particular card was the one that I should choose. Upon turning it over, I saw that I had picked the spider card. I was reminded that the spirit is always listening. The next morning I found that during the night I had been bitten by a spider. A few days prior to this incident, I received an email from a woman whose husband had twice been bitten by a brown recluse. I shared the importance of the spider medicine and my belief that her husband was being contacted by the spirit of the spider, and that he might consider offering tobacco and praying for spider's guidance. I also shared with her my story of the spider's communication during dream time, my mistake, and how I had disrespected the spider nation. Even after receiving signs that Grandmother Spider forgave me, I was still not able to forgive myself. Many years passed by, and although I had put what happened that day out of my mind, she was still not finished with me. The spirit seems to know our deepest thoughts. Spiders, as all creatures are our teachers, and often give signs to show that they are present. Many years had passed by, and I had been called to the Lakota tradition, and found myself at a Sundance ceremony in South Dakota, where Grandmother Spider appeared again. I had been praying, asking for a sign that would guide me. After I finished dancing, I had taken up a position near the east gate of the Sundance grounds to support others who remained dancing. I noticed a medicine man who was also a chief of the Sundance, and as he moved out of the center away from the dancers, he walked directly toward me. As he approached me, I noticed that he held a long piece of yellow and black fabric. He stood in front of me and handed me the fabric. He spoke, saying that I should pray about what I'd been thinking of and make an altar with the fabric, and then tie it on the tree of life standing in the center of the Sundance. I took the fabric, and placing tobacco inside, I prayed and then tied the prayer robe to the sacred tree. I then went to him, and, as is customary when approaching an elder for advice, I offered him tobacco. At times, we experience what might seem to be something out of the ordinary, even strange. Yet in the world of medicine men and women, such experiences are normal. You see, it turned out that the chief who approached me carried a spider medicine. I mentioned before how Spider hears our prayers and knows what we need to be guided. It soon happened that before going to the arbor that day, I'd been praying to Spirit, asking to whom to speak with regarding many extraordinary experiences that had occurred in my life, one of which was my experience with the spider. As the day was ending, I entered the chief's tepee. We sat together for several hours while I described how the ants had taken my tobacco offering, and of being led to find the celestial stone. I told him of my journey to Green Grass, South Dakota, refer to my book, Mending the Hoop, and of meeting the keepers of the white buffalo miracle. Of course, I spoke of my regret and sadness about my disregard for the spider, and when I'd finished, he spoke. He explained how to keep sacred stones in a bundle with cedar, and then he said that white buffalo calf woman had recognized me. After arriving home from the Sundance, I found a spider web completely covering the doorway and the entrance to my home. I offered tobacco and removed a small corner of the web. I crawled through the opening, leaving the rest of the web intact. The next morning the spider was gone, and the web no longer there. I felt that the spider building her web in such an obvious place was a clear message that she had forgiven me, and that I needed to forgive myself. The medicine of Grandmother Spider is powerful. Going about her work, creating and spinning the web of life, she never wavers against the task before her. If we observe her closely, we realize that there's nothing that prevents her from succeeding. No great wind or driving rain or fallen branch, for she is persistent, diligent, and committed. Ant medicine. Uwipi stones. According to ancient beliefs, the creatures of the earth were to be teachers to the two-legged, the humans, who were given the gift and ability to communicate with them. Indigenous peoples, when receiving help and guidance from an animal, believed this to be a medicine gift, and having great power. For instance, a particular colony of red ants are said to create a special crystal stone, which has healing power. The ants polish these tiny stones and place them on top of their sandy ant hills. The tiny stones are called uwipi, and are gathered by native people to be placed inside a small rattle, and used in healing ceremonies. It is not always easy to find such rare and sacred stones. But I'd been asked by Grandfather Black Elk to find them, and for several years I searched. Along with 2 friends, I journeyed to the Black Hills in South Dakota, and found several large ant hills. We sat down beside the first ant hill, and immediately saw several ants milling about. Suddenly, all but one disappeared into the tiny hole in the center of the hill. As I looked closely, I noticed several uweepie stones scattered on the mound. I addressed the one remaining ant, asking if I could take a few crystal stones, and that they would be used for ceremony. The ant proceeded to gather one of the uweepie stones and carried it to where I sat, and dropped it on the side of the ant-hill in front of me. It then disappeared into the entranceway of the ant-hill. I was delighted, and I gratefully gathered a few more stones, and out of respect I left the rest. As we moved into the next ant-hill, I suddenly realized that I had gone about this in a very disrespectful way. I realized that I'd forgotten to make an offering of tobacco, as is customary when taking something. When we arrived at the second ant-hill, I sat down and observed only a few ants that seemed to be running in and out of the tiny hole at random. I took out my tobacco after having realized my earlier mistake, and made a proper offering, and thanked them beforehand for their generosity. As I prayed with the tobacco, I sprinkled some over the hill, asking for permission to take some of their sacred stones. Suddenly, many ants appeared on the surface and began gathering up the tobacco. They worked steadfastly, carrying the tobacco down into the earth until every last drop was gone. I gathered some of the crystals and again left some remaining. This beautiful teaching showed me how the creatures, our relatives, help us, and how they will communicate with us if we believe, and also the importance of our having respect and gratitude for their willingness to help us. They had been generous with me, even though at first I did not remember to make the proper offering. The creatures have been waiting, hoping that humans return to the ancient ways of the grandmothers. Acting with spiritual consciousness is remembering the importance of giving something to the relatives in return for their medicine gift, and by our offering tobacco, we are showing respect for the ancient ways. Recently, I visited a friend who was having difficulty with an invasion of red ants. She expressed how she had been killing so many, yet they kept still invading her house. I told her not to kill them. She looked at me with reluctance, and as I continued to explain that the ants were bringing her a message, I explained how ant medicine is about patience and tenacity in meeting challenging situations. She was not amused, and even though she stopped killing them, she did not take my advice to pray to them asking for clarity regarding a recent situation. We left the following day on a camping trip, and after setting up our tents, she found it soon invaded by hundreds of tiny red ants. This was the last straw, she said. Again I spoke of having patience, and she responded with anger. I'm trying to be patient. The following day, upon returning home, she found that her house was still overrun with ants. Finally, she followed my advice and made an offering of tobacco. She also told the ants that she would gladly leave sugar water outside for them if they would leave her house. She sat quietly asking the ant people for guidance, and was surprised to receive an immediate answer. That afternoon, the ants had disappeared. It is crucial to our developing our personal medicine that we pay close attention to the message the spirits bring, and bring proper steps to show gratitude. Spirits of the Green Nation. In 1996, I traveled to Pipestone, Minnesota, to a Lakota dance ceremony and gathering of the sacred Chanupa. In 1994, upon meeting Charlie Stryker, not his real name, he had extended an invitation to me to attend this ancient and most sacred ceremony. I had never attended a sun dance, and not having any idea what to expect, I soon realized the significance of this beautiful and powerful ceremony. I and some of the others were attending the sun dance and had been asked to take part in helping build the half-moon ark of the red stone that had earlier been gathered from the ancient quarry nearby. The sacred chanupa is made from this sacred red stone found in Pipestone, Minnesota. Later on, during the sun dance ceremony, the sun dancers would place their respective chanupas along the ark. Our job was to lay the cut stone around and on top of the dirt ark, covering it completely. The dirt ark stood about 3 foot high and approximately 25 foot long. The sun dance arbor which surrounded the dance grounds stood on several acres of flat land near the red stone quarries, and was surrounded by gentle rolling hills that rose in the distance. In prehistoric times, indigenous people traveled to the quarry to take the red stone for its use in many of their tools. After the white buffalo calf pipe woman appeared to the Lakota nation, when she had brought the original sacred chanupa, which had been made from a buffalo bone, she advised them to make a second pipe from the red stone. This red stone became known as catlinite. As I began the daunting task of picking through the pile of randomly cut red stone and carefully fitting the puzzle together, I became aware of a lilting song nearby. Looking up, I noticed a meadowlark standing in a distant tree on the hill beyond the arbor. It seemed to be intent on observing our activities while singing its enchanting melody. As we continued working on the giant puzzle, I began to initiate the meadowlark's song. Seeming to respond to my call, it flew closer and lighted upon an upturned log near the entrance to the east gate of the Sundance grounds. For several hours we continued to build the stone ark, and the meadowlark stayed put, singing joyfully. I began to think this quite unusual, realizing that birds are often constantly moving about. I had never observed a bird that stayed as long in one spot. I then recalled reading that Sitting Bull, a great Lakota chief, had loved the meadowlark. I felt the little bird's presence was significant, and wondered if Sitting Bull's spirit was watching us. The sun dance is considered one of the most sacred ceremonies, and a powerful way to pray to the Creator. To take part in the sun dance is a privilege. The encampment takes on an air of antiquity, as one might experience entering a time warp. Long ago, native people traveled from afar each summer to meet, dance, and pray in the manner that their ancestors had for hundreds of years. By the late afternoon, the sun spread shadows across the many teepees that had been set up. Several had been painted depicting the sacred buffalo, beaver, and other significant animals that marched colorfully around them. Strips of colored cloth had been tied to the tips of the long poles that bend outward from the tops of the teepee, each color representing one of the 4 sacred directions. Each morning before sunset, a camp caller would alert everyone to meet at the arbor for morning prayer. Soon after, the dance would begin. The sacred tree, whose life had been taken by the sun dancers in a reverent ceremony, had been carried on their shoulders the 1.5 miles to the dance ground. To raise the sacred tree was a daunting task, yet everyone pulling together on long ropes soon had it lifted and placed in the center of the dance grounds. In the morning twilight, the tree had been covered with hundreds of prayer offerings the day before stood silently waiting. Those who participate in the sun dance dress in the traditional manner. Men wear long skirts of red cotton cloth, some bearing significant symbols. The women wear long cotton dresses with colorful ribbons on their sleeves, and a fringed shawl worn around their waists. The long fringe sways gracefully as they dance. Every dancer wears sage anklets and wristlets, and a sage crown representing humanity's connection to the celestial realm. Many carry large eagle wing fans. Before sunrise, the dancers would gather silently in semi-darkness. Soon the signal would be given to follow the dance chief through the east gate into the arbor. Each day of the Sundance, I stood beneath the arbor that surrounded the dance grounds in support. Several native men sat around the ceremonial drum waiting. A soft glow of the first light of dawn began to spread over the distant mountains. The awakening day filled with bird song, and the signal was given for the sun dancers to move single file slowly through the east gate. Throughout the days of the Sundance, I kept my gaze focused upon a tree that stood on a hill in the distance. During the afternoon on the third day, something incredible happened. A giant green figure suddenly appeared on the distant hill. The figure was distinguished by bright shimmering leaves and towered over the row of tall trees behind it. Although amazed at the appearance of a green spirit, I was determined to hold my gaze when I noticed a much smaller one appear beside the larger one, and just as quickly as they appeared, they disappeared, returning to their hidden dimension. I have heard stories of the green man, or green spirit, who has appeared for centuries throughout the world. When the Europeans conquered the native people of this continent, their traditional ceremonies had been honored, sacred sites were ended. It makes sense that with this loss and the increase in population and development of roadways in all the areas that the spirits had been pressured to retreat. That day when the green spirits appeared, I felt strongly that the drumming, singing, and praying of the sun dancers had attracted them. It seems to me that the curiosity had shifted them momentarily into our dimension. I felt that they may have been drawn to the familiar yet distant memory of the original people's tribute to the spirits and the Mother Earth during the Sundance ceremony, and upon their returning to their hidden realm, they reported to other beings what they observed. I realized what a special privilege I'd been given, and how this was yet another example that proves that our prayers and our being alert and having our hearts and ears open will sometimes entice the spirits to show themselves. Chapter 24, The Great Mystery, the In-Between. It's difficult to define exactly what the Great Mystery is, since the mystery denotes the unknown and unfathomable. Humans have always looked to the heavens and the earth with a curious notion that there exists something far greater than themselves. The Great Mystery cannot be encompassed as one aspect that we can explore, or even begin to understand, package, or tame. The Great Mystery, as is all of nature, variable yet singular at the same time. Nature and its myriad creation continue to mystify us. In our search to understand, we question humanity's origins and history, persistently searching for the unknown. Often we experience a deep longing, perhaps even the feeling that something is missing, yet right at our fingertips. Longing to know the reason for their existence, many find themselves on a lifelong search. They explore the supernatural and the unexplained mystery of reincarnation, and reasons for returning to this earth realm. Humans' capacity to understand and to literally see and actually observe the great mystery is limited. Yet, if we are to understand the fundamental reasons for our presence on earth, and that each of us is part of the sacred web, which is crucial to our survival and which deeply affects us, and in turn we also powerfully affect, we must first be willing to open ourselves to this great mystery. We must realize that every human is essential and in relationship with everything that makes up our world and the universe that surrounds us. A powerful prayer that implores the greater beings is to ask to be open, to be without judgment, to have our eyes opened and to see beyond the illusion we have been led to believe in, to be alert to what lies beyond and what we have believed to be reality. This we must do in order to bypass all that we have been trained to believe in is real and true. We must be willing to accept the other possibilities that exist, that there are other living beings that abandon in our universe that we have been taught to ignore or even fear. We must, without doubt, enter unafraid upon the passageway that leads us to the great mystery. The in-between, that incomprehensible, mysterious place known to the shaman or seer, had been shown to me during a time I spent several days upon a mountain. I was literally transported into the mysterious realm of the great mystery, while sitting in quiet prayer within the sacred altar that I had prepared. After I held an unwavering attention, steadily penetrating the dormant space between the trees that surrounded me, I began to observe a delicate vibration in the atmosphere, which I had perceived as an aura. Before me, and all that surrounded me began to quiver and pulse with a life force that soon began to take a distinct form. I determined those tremendous forms to be a compilation of sacred geometry. Each one began as the hexagon or building block and extended on into a myriad geometry, each one unique, yet determined according to the spatial distance between each tree. Each distinct shape of connecting elements contained within its parameter geometric patterns, woven together as a continuous, unifying, and delicate system, which might be described as an intricate cellular structure, such as that which one might observe while viewing a leaf under a microscope. It became apparent that when I determined to see this mysterious web, it would immediately disappear, the normal or familiar landscape reappearing before my eyes. I was completely fascinated, and tested this strange phenomenon by practicing the art of seeing without looking. When I again maintained stillness and held a steadfast gaze into the forest, I was delighted when, after some time, I again observed the non-ordinary universe as a shimmering web of sacred geometry, where a parade of images reappeared like finely woven nets, a filament of rope ladders and spirals made up of unearthly colors. I was reminded of a nucleus as I observed how the interior space contained a center, while surrounding parameter was distinctly pronounced. I realized how privileged I was to have been given a glimpse of the great mystery, knowledge that there indeed exists a sacred web, a life force, which emanates from the earth as a divine aura, the sacred web whose finely woven filaments ascend and descend, advancing from tree to tree, like invisible ether which permeates our world and continues on into the celestial heavens. I had been shown a minuscule part of the great mystery, and the origin of creation as a miraculous strand of DNA that holds our world together. This profound experience validated for me that all things throughout the universe are connected through a continuing web of no beginning and no end. As a responsible human, we must then realize the importance of understanding our dynamic relationship to all things, take responsibility for efficient and clear intention in regard to our behavior, and practice living with the knowledge that there exists an incomprehensible, yet truly magical, great mystery, and realize that we each are connected through the sacred hoop, the web. the power we hold. Let us not underestimate the power of thought and emotion. There is an unknown power which manifests as an energetic force that vibrates outward and through the universe. Our thoughts and emotions have a powerful influence upon the sacred web. We have the power to manifest and create our world as harmonious or disharmonious, according to that which we choose to focus upon. Positive thinking and having compassion affirm oneself as harmonious and in accord with the divine rule. If your thoughts are inclined toward negativity, they will undoubtedly create disharmony of the body, mind, and spirit. As well, they will powerfully affect others energetically, and as energy is known to follow a natural course, will also affect the balance and harmony of the sacred web. The grandmothers knew of the power of positive thinking and of having trust and faith in all matters. They understood how impatience disrupts the law of the universe, which prescribes that all things occur in their natural time. The grandmothers knew that having patience was power. To them, having patience was to allow the unfolding of the divine plan. Impatience disrupts the natural course that is necessary for each of us. In regard to those we love, we are unable to change. The grandmothers would have advised having compassion, and most definitely patience, and to allow them their own individual process, a beneficial and powerful teaching. The grandmothers dealt with those who suffered impatience and jealousy by addressing these issues with compassion and patience. Those suffering from negativity are out of balance, making it impossible for them to hold alliance with all that is sacred. Having patience enables us to work toward the good of the whole from a place of power, of centeredness, where one is more effective, as opposed to impatient, where one gives over their power. The grandmothers teach us that we can advance spiritually and realize inner peace by using our power to heal negative attitudes and surrendering doubt and fear and all that keeps us out of balance. It is crucial to become adept at maintaining one's power through being centered and harmonious, and to not allow others, or even your own inner turmoil, to overtake you. Commitment to any spiritual path which allows personal development brings us challenges and activates powerful movement on all levels. Being open to all possibilities can lead us to explore other dimensions or gain the ability to view the magical world. Whenever one is working with a teacher or a healer, if there is resistance or impatience or unwillingness to take responsibility as a co-creator, this will dramatically affect the easy flow of channeled information that the facilitator is attempting. If one chooses to resist and not participate fully or claim that there's nothing new for me to learn, or there's nothing that can help me, that person undoubtedly believes that they will never benefit, that nothing will ever work for them. This inevitably leads to their fulfilling their negative core belief through self-sabotage. Jane had attended the medicine circle for several months, and suddenly begun acting aloof and resistant to the teachings. She would often forget her study book, as well as forgetting her spirit stone. Her impatience and indifference was becoming obvious to other circle members as well. Jane believed she knew everything there was to know, that as a teacher I could offer her nothing new. She grew increasingly annoyed with others in the circle, who it seemed to her were taking too long in their process. Since her attitude was disruptive to my teachers, I chose to hold back. I felt sure that she was preparing to leave and had most likely been seeking an excuse to validate her decision. I knew that she had reached a crucial point where she would either choose to learn patience and allow unfolding of hers and others' processes, or choose to leave due to her impatience. After months of experiencing the camaraderie of the circle and each member's vulnerability, Jane suddenly disappeared. This careless disregard that had immediate and dramatic impact upon the other members, bringing up abandonment and trust issues. However, many months later, she sought out my advice in reference to unrelated issues. I took the opportunity to discuss how her leaving the circle without making closure had been hurtful to the others. I explained how this behavior was a negative pattern that had most likely affected many of her relationships. Jane agreed with my observation. She then expressed the frustration and impatience she experienced during the circle and admitted to a pattern of disappearing from relationships. I explained that I had purposefully held back and waited for her to make a decision, to be either fully present without having a negative attitude, or else leave the circle. It would have been to her benefit to have spoken with me about her concerns, and to have learned how to deal with her impatience. If she then chose to leave, it would have been important that she take responsibility in an appropriate manner for closure with the other members, but instead she chose to ignore her original commitment. Not only did she not hold to her commitment regarding her own healing process, but to the others in the circle as well. She chose instead to continue old patterns of blaming others for her behavior and disappearing from those who had built a trusting relationship with her. Jane had overlooked important and significant teachings of the medicine circle. These encompass practicing patience, compassion, and the art of maintaining one's power. The 4 sacred virtues: endurance, courage, patience, alertness. To gain these virtues, one must sustain a daily practice of prayer, having trust and faith, and learning to be humble, gracious, forgiving, and compassionate. Each of these gifts is held as sacred medicine by those who work for the good of all, and which we strive to achieve in the medicine circle. If we succeed, we can achieve great healing. We can manifest the changes necessary to our entering the 5th hoop of peace. As we move toward the future and the necessary changes and transformation needed to enter the 5th hoop of peace, we will need endurance to stay steadfast upon our spiritual course and to meet our increasing challenges. We may be overcome with doubt or fear regarding that which we each have been called to do. We will need courage, and above all patience, to hold ourselves steady no matter the obstacles which appear. Praying to be alert to the voice and guidance of spirit, which may appear to us as the wind or a winged one, or in a dream time, is crucial. Guidelines for sacred circles. It's important to realize that when people gather together for any period of time, challenges are bound to arise. In a healing circle, members meet regularly and begin to form committed relationships. Each participant brings diverse problems, their fears, doubts, weakness, and struggles. They also bring about their abilities and gifts. Undoubtedly, a sense of vulnerability will begin to occur as teachings unfold. Embarking upon a healing path is powerful, and often we are led to begin to probe these hidden places, where as a child, in order to have survived, we had to hide our secrets. Sometimes our secrets may relate to the most horrible and devastating experiences, yet they need to be uncovered and exposed since they reflect core beliefs which dictate fear, self-doubt, and self-loathing. The medicine circle should reflect a safe environment. One should feel supported so that participants can explore personal issues and have an opportunity to heal. patience, endurance, courage, and alertness, as well as being humble, are essential tools to be used in the medicine circle. Those who enter the sacred circle become a witness to each other's stories. They gain insight into healing modalities and the art of becoming the still point. Most significantly, they learn about the power and medicine of women. To sit in the circle is to allow the unfolding, to observe and be aware of one's process, to be compassionate, forgiving of oneself and others, and to learn to be grateful. The most difficult challenge we meet is to hold ourselves as a still point. This is maintaining harmony, to be compassionate and forgiving, and holding ourselves within the flow of one heart, one mind. Our struggle is against the dark energies of fear, doubt, impatience, jealousy, and hatred, which pressure us to turn away from the opportunity that the sacred circle offers. The medicine circle is where we realize healing of our deepest wounds, where we become the still point, able to withstand the escalating chaos and coming challenges, and take part in mending the hoop. Personal medicine. In times long ago, humans were earth-oriented and considered the magical world and esoteric knowledge held by female and male shamans to be natural. Mystical and paranormal experiences were commonplace and pursued freely. Living according to the ancient ways empowered the people. Ritual and use of sacred medicines had a positive influence in keeping balance and harmony in the world. They understood the delicate balance of nature and the impact humans had upon the earth, and the importance of renewal of one's spiritual, physical, and emotional self. This they sought to achieve through communion with the elemental spirits and the ancient rites, which brought a deeper understanding of human connectedness with all of nature. Indigenous beliefs centered on honoring all of life, and each of the spiritual gifts and personal medicines each had received from the Creator and their responsibility to use these accordingly. Today, humans suffer from stress and are groomed to become overachievers and materialistic. These unfortunate perspectives have been a generative force for generations. They have brought about a significant loss of natural visionary gifts and the opportunity for renewal of one's body, mind, and spirit through nature. One's personal medicine is the ability to gain empowerment and to quest for guidance and receive answers through the use of innate faculties, without the interference of doubt and fear. Divining, channeling, luring, and manifesting are modalities used to communicate with the elemental world and those of the spiritual realm. These, in ancient times, were significant to humans as teachers and guides. Shamans and medicine men and women, and those who developed psychically, used these in similar modalities as tools to divine information relating to future events, and as a source of power for the purpose of healing. Personal medicine permits us authority over any suggestibility from ego, programming, negative patterning, brainwashing, or obstruction that would affect our process or confound or overwhelm us, preventing us from achieving advancement. Personal medicine is recognizing ourselves as part of the greater divine plan, and having an awareness of and accepting without doubt our medicine gifts, our purpose, and realizing the responsibility we each have as co-creators. Using personal medicine and acquiring specific knowledge regarding its use, we live our life fulfilling our spirit's original promise, able to walk a sacred path that brings us joy. Personal medicine empowers one to have the ability to live life in harmony, to walk in beauty, without interference or distraction. Learning to develop sacred ceremony and using ritual as personal medicine brings us closer to understanding the power and wonder of these tools. With practice and dedication to developing personal medicine, one realizes their own significance and relationship to the great mystery that we are all part of within this divine plan. Personal medicine is being a good listener, having compassion, forgiveness, and empathy. Personal medicine might be as simple as planting flowers and cooking wholesome foods. No matter our daily activity, sustaining spiritual consciousness is personal medicine. Finding one's purpose and sharing the natural gifts one is born with, and being positive and working toward creating a better world, having courage to follow one's heart, all are personal medicines. Personal medicine is holding awareness that all things contain a living spirit, developing a deeper relationship with spirit, having gratitude and walking the beauty way as a peacekeeper. Personal medicine is opening to higher consciousness, to an inner knowing that we are all related and one with everything, living and acting accordingly, living with reverence, holding ourselves within the energy of divine light, and shining our light brightly against fear and doubt. Personal medicine links us to the ancient grandmother's ways. Joan, who'd been staying with me for a few months, expressed her desire to alert people of her healing abilities. She was frustrated that others did not respect her enough to come to her for help. I mentioned that if she truly believes she holds healing medicine as a gift from the Creator, she must act accordingly, and not wait for others to recognize her gifts, but to live her daily life as a healer. Self-recognition of the gift one has been given, and by keeping aligned with the vibrations of love and light, and being in prayer and ceremony, is one way of honoring and using one's medicine. In this way, Joan would already be putting her medicine gifts to good use, and eventually others would seek her out when the time's right and according to the Great Spirit's plan. Yet if she continues waiting to be noticed and is frustrated because things are not going according to her plan, she's just wasting her time. I asked her what she's waiting for, and warned her that if we believe we need others to give us permission, or that only by their recognition would we be allowed to use the gifts that we've been given, that this is only delaying our fulfilling of our purpose. Acting as if. In another case, I advised Sheila, who had expressed her longing to receive spiritual guidance, to begin a daily practice of prayer and communing with Spirit in order to be prepared to receive. She seemed to have difficulty committing herself to a daily practice, and often complained of being frustrated. She explained that nothing had happened during each of her attempts. She expressed her belief that she was never going to be successful. Sheila had not yet realized that the wisdom she sought already existed within her. I explained that in order to receive guidance from Spirit, she must first activate her connection with Spirit by being diligent and patient and spending more time in nature. The grandmother's earthways show us that the importance of having trust and faith and being thankful for our lives and each of the gifts that's been given us at birth, showing gratitude for the earth's beauty and abundance, is essential to begin opening to receive spiritual guidance. The art of spiritual communication is realized by taking the necessary steps to live life as a spiritual person and developing spiritual consciousness. I explained to Sheila that she must first understand without doubt that her presence on earth is significant and essential to the divine plan, that she, as had many others, once lived on the earth in ancient times, and had also practiced the sacred earthways. I advised her to act as if the wisdom she sought was already there, and she only needed to believe and listen, to open her eyes to see beyond her doubt and to practice opening her ears to hear the subtle message of Spirit. I explained that it's the daily practice of prayer and learning to sit quietly, to listen and experience feeling all the vibrations around us, and to develop and expand our natural sensing abilities that activate our opening of the channels to spiritual guidance, acting as if unblocks negative beliefs and fear that prevents us from realizing personal truth and are developing personal medicine. If we are unable, due to the fear or doubt, to take our gifts to their fullest potential and to honor these and the Great Spirit who's given these gifts, we will have failed to fulfill our original purpose. Do you harbor self-doubt, blocking the flow of divine guidance due to frustration and impatience, believing the spirits are not listening? Describe what you believe to be your personal medicine gifts given at birth. Are you using these gifts to the best of your ability? Could self-doubt be creating self-sabotage and preventing you from fulfilling your original promise? Might our purpose be to fulfill the original promise by recognizing and honoring each of our gifts and taking them to their fullest potential? Describe how you show gratitude for your gifts. Describe the daily practice you use to connect and communicate with spiritual guides. Describe living with spiritual consciousness. The original world. Our memories from past lives may remain hidden from us, yet continue to severely impact us on a cellular level. They can, in this lifetime, prevent our fulfilling our original promise and renewing the ways of the grandmothers and the sacred feminine, especially if during a past life we've been punished, persecuted, or in some cases, due to our spiritual beliefs or lifestyle, murdered. I believe these powerful cellular memories are the original wound that is, in this present life, affects our physical, emotional, and spiritual self, and often manifest themselves subjectively, according to that which our spirit desires. At this significant time, women especially are being called by Spirit to return to the ways of honoring the sacred feminine. Those who seek truth and who strive to heal the original wound of past lives, and those experienced in this life, whose desire it is to stand strong against the dictates of society, may find themselves plagued by fear, believing that they will once again be persecuted. There are those who may recall their torture, or being murdered due to their spiritual belief or their knowledge of herbal medicine or esoteric practices. Our original wound is derived from past lives, where we suffered persecution, that today hinders our ability to trust in Spirit's guidance, as once again we seek to live according to our personal truth. The persecution of women throughout history has left an indefinable mark that has not only affected women, but all of humanity. How are we to realize peace in the world if women are still violated? If women are unable to heal the original wound which disables them as the original peacekeepers, they will continue to live in fear of the sacred knowledge, unable to receive the wisdom of the grandmothers and fulfill the prophecy. The original promise. There are many souls who have returned as light workers to fulfill their original promise and help raise human consciousness. The original promise indicates a spiritual challenge and is a test of humanity's faith and willingness to choose to live in peace. To fulfill the original promise, one needs to recognize that they are part of a greater divine plan, one that understands the true meaning of human existence as something far greater and more profound than originally presumed. In order to understand the concept of returning souls in the original promise, one must be willing to step outside of the prescribed claims, rules, regulations, and beliefs of those who claim themselves as authorities, and who maintain their beliefs to be the only truth. This requires serious thought, investigation, and explorers of the far-reaching ideas of those who have gained essential wisdom through esoteric practice. The soul essence indicates a perfect form and quality of sacredness, as contained within the true nature of all humans. To discover one's original promise is to know one's personal truth outside of the norm and standard pattern of overconfident and arrogant human behavior, and gain the ability to spread one's wings. It's essential that we take responsibility to heal any damaging illusions and programming that may have occurred through generations, and to also realize that we're being called to participate in something that indicates the soul's greater intentions of our being on earth at this time. The objective brings us to the realization that humans are co-creators, having the power to create their own reality. With this knowledge, we might better understand our original promise and purpose of our return at this crucial time as the earth changes escalate, and during which, according to the prophecies, we are to now awaken. The significance of our return is to participate in the transition and process of change that is necessary in order to return to the grandmother's way and mend the sacred hoop. Chapter 25, A Revival. The soul's need and desires are to reconnect us to our spiritual roots and heritage, to find a way out of the spiritual and psychological wasteland of our present age. It is realizing one's personal traits and original promise, and the importance of women gathering their medicines once again. This aligns us with the ancient grandmother's earth ways and guides us into the 1,000 years of peace. If, through cellular memory, one is overcome with past experiences of trauma and persecution, they would be blocked and paralyzed, unable to achieve rightful and natural expansion. They would be unable to awaken and fulfill the original promise. If in this present life you've been subjected to severe societal religious programming, your ability to work with the soul's purpose may also be blocked. You might even experience difficulty aligning with the divine light source, unable to realize your personal medicine and personal truth. You may remain forever out of balance and alienated. As we move amidst the damaging effects of the petrochemical age, we are seeking once again connection with nature, with the sacred source that is everlasting and sure. For this reason, many are turning to the nature religions and the earth ways in an attempt to procure a spiritual connection, which somehow conventional religion has failed to achieve, or has indeed negated, which is undoubtedly due to the profound sense of alienation that besets those who are ruled by the civilized world. A revival of interest in the earth's religion seems to be reaching out into the hearts, minds, and spirits of the many at this time. This point shows the growing awareness of the necessity to combine our spirituality with a reverence and care for the earth. The Renaissance and increasing interest in the natural religions throughout the world reflect the need of the collective consciousness and the soul self, whose intention is to redress the balance that has been disturbed by the dominant rule of those patriarchal religions of the Judeo-Christian and Islamic worlds. This imbalance has resulted in a disturbed relationship to the planet herself, and rather than seeing the revival of the earth religions as regressive, in fact, we can look at this as progression towards a time in which we are able to meet the wisdom of the ancients at a new turn in the sacred hoop, and to see that each of us needs a sense and purpose of the sacredness of all of life, if we are to survive as a species. Well, one, I think if we take out, this is my own thing in here, I'm just going to interject this. You can have a spiritual practice, but as soon as it becomes a religion, then it becomes twisted, sullied. I can't think of the word that I want, but tainted. So you can have practices, and not even practice, because that's not a good word either. You can have your ceremony, your way of doing things, your way. But I don't think that you should be pushing that on someone else, because we each have our own way of doing things. We each have our own vibrations, our own understandings, our own relationships to all that is around us. So, I would say take out the word religion altogether and just do things your way. Learn to relate your way, not anyone else's. So anyway, I've said that, and now I'm going to go on with the rest of the book. Describe your personal truth. What of the ways that you have blocked yourself, preventing your realizing your personal medicine and your personal truth? What might have happened that crushed your spiritual connection to the Mother Earth and your original essence? Does fear, hopelessness, and doubt rule your life? Are you unable to activate your personal power, your medicine, and your ability to accelerate into your rightful place in this lifetime? Can you recall and describe a past life? Write an experience of past life persecution. Have you felt that your beliefs, lifestyle, and your actions have been or are out of society's norm? During childhood, did you feel misunderstood? Did your family members recognize your uniqueness? Today, do you feel misunderstood, not seen, or recognized? Do you believe that you may have lived when humans honored the goddess and the Mother Earth? Earth-oriented cultures. Can you describe what an earth-oriented culture is? Describe your fantasy regarding humans' existence on Earth, where the Mother Earth, every culture, and all the races were recognized, respected, and honored. Within the context of this fantasy, describe yourself, your experiences, and the part you would play. In this world, how could you relate or behave towards others, to the animals, the earth? Can you describe an important daily routine that would begin to make a difference in your world? Describe the effect that negative behavior as well as negative thoughts has upon the earth, human population, the creatures, our water, and our future. Have you ever experienced divine love? Have you forgiven those who have hurt you? Do you believe it's possible to send healing energy to someone far away? Can you explain what divine light source is? Can you describe the One? Can you explain why you have returned to Mother Earth at this time? Can you describe what you believe to be your commitment and reasons for returning to the Earth? The assignment. We have our assignment laid out before us. We have each returned to fulfill our original promise, which has brought us to this crucial time on Earth, a time when we've been called by the grandmothers to gather the medicines once again and enter the sacred circles. Will you remember? Will you open your heart and dance and pray in gratitude and return to the sacred circle? The prophecies speak of the time of awakening when all humans will lead the way to heal generations of harm against the Sacred Mother, a time of renewing the knowledge of the ways of honoring the Sacred Feminine. We are reminded of the unknown power we each hold as co-creators, to either choose to align ourselves with the original ways of the Earth people and create peace and harmony between all nations, or remain asleep. As we move forward upon the sacred hoop, we approach the time of a great shift. Through earth changes and the changes in human lifestyles that is not only necessary, but that is part of the great plan, we will arrive at a crucial time when we will be given a choice. At this time, we must realize that we must go forward in a new way of being, and not allow ourselves to be threatened or be overcome by fear. This new way is in fact an ancient way, the way of the ancestors, those who had followed the sacred teachings of the grandmothers, and the time when humans lived in respect and honor of the Sacred Feminine, who held harmony and balance in their relationship to each other, and the earth, and all creatures, all that the Creator has given us. We are rapidly approaching this time, as more and more each day we become aware of the earth's changes, and how these changes are forcing us to rethink our behavior, and to become responsible caretakers of the earth's resources for the coming generations. Mitake o Yasin, Grandmother Threecrow, a.k.a. Tunka Hota Wiyan, Gray Stone Woman, 2009. Well, folks, that is the end of Return of the Sacred Feminine and the teachings of the grandmothers. I hope that you have very much enjoyed listening to me read this book. If you would like your own copy, contact Barbara Threecrow. She is a regular host at awakeradio.com. It's awakeradio.us, I think. Just Google Awake Radio. She's also quite often in the chat room here. She's sometimes a guest of myself or Dolly or someone else here. She's on Skype. And she's also on Facebook. So just Google her. And, because I think she's got some wonderful, wonderful books that are very healing for a lot of us. Have a lot of information I think that we all ought to think about. I actually think these maybe ought to be in the schools, these books. I think they'd make quite a little study program that would be healing to all the children. And after all, that's where the healing begins, with our inner child. And it'd be great if we could start that while still children, instead of carrying a bunch of garbage and baggage and stuff around us, with us most of our lives. And also, it would teach the children about reverence and respect for the earth. So, with that said, I will leave you all now. And I did go over a little bit today, because I was nearing the end of the book and I did want to finish it. And my plan is to start a book that Jessica Morocco, who is also a host here on Wolf Spirit Radio, she wrote this book, and she's written several actually, and has also written some children's books that I would like to get my hands on and read. So that's my plan, to start next week with Jessica's book. And I'm sorry I can't remember the name right now, because I'm kind of doing this on the fly. So anyway, I thank you all for listening and for being with me and for joining us at Wolf Spirit Radio as well as Haggie Shack Radio. So, with that said, see y'all later. Bye now.